The Batman, a character who's been interpreted in live action many, many, many times throughout the years, with a plethora of who's who of actors portraying the character and who's who of actors portraying his rogues gallery. But with that being said, would you believe me if I said that not every single Batman villain has been actually seen in live action format yet? Well, strap on, because I'm going to give you guys 3 villains that I think should be next for the Batman. Matt Reeves should be in production of the Batman next year, depending on how the strikes go. But I'm going to be talking about 3 villains that I personally think should be done in live action and what I personally think would work in this new universe for the Batman. So if you've been living under a rock, recently there have been a lot of rumors, a lot of leaks, and a lot of possible talks about what the next The Batman 2 movie is going to consist of. People saying that there's going to be a Robin, people saying that the next villain is going to be confirmed this, that, the other. Right now it's all speculation, it's all rumors, it's all hearsay, coming from sources that may or may not be reputable, depending on how often they have been correct. That's up to you guys to delegate. But I'm just going to have some fun here in this video, and I'm going to talk about three villains that I think would be really cool to be done in live action. And I'm just going to get the first one out the way. This guy's been talked about already. He's been rummaging the internet. People have been talking about him. Clayface. So Clayface, back in the day when he was first introduced, when he made his first appearance, he actually wasn't the modern version take that we are all so accustomed with. He actually was just a regular dude who just happened to have his face dismembered and just looked a little weird, and so he couldn't really be an actor. And then fast forward to modern day, where after the Batman the Animated Series, you see him as a monster, as a actual clay monster that can transfigure himself and transform into basically anything or anyone. And there's been a lot of debate as to which Clayface people want to see. Obviously, with the grounded take that Matt Reeves has taken, the Batman, everybody is leading towards the older version other than the modern version. But obviously, diehard Batman fans still want to see the modern version just to see Batman fight that. And I'm kind of on that side a little bit, but at the same time, I do understand why you would want to see a more grounded version of Clayface, considering it would mesh well with the world that Matt Reeves has created. But hear me out. Here's my take on Clayface and why I think he would actually work really well in a Batman sequel. I think with Clayface, what you want to do is you want to start him out like the original comics. You want to start him out as a guy with a disfigured face who can't get any acting roles, a guy who turns himself crazy because of it, and in the process then becomes the modern version of Clayface. And whether that means at the end of the movie or in the final act or halfway through, doesn't matter. You can do a complete Two-Face. Maybe he shows up in the second movie and doesn't really become the monster until the third movie. I mean, you have many possible options to go here with Clayface, especially because once he becomes the monster, you could really do whatever you want with him in regards to other villains too. So yeah, I'm definitely on board with the idea of having Clayface as the next villain, because we have not seen Clayface in any live action form, I think, ever. And to see him in the Batman would be really cool. I want to see a little bit more of the fantasy elements in the Batman. I think it has a door open for the possibilities of fantasy elements, and I think everybody's so accustomed to the grounded version, but I really think this Matt Reeves world is a good mix of Tim Burton and Christopher Nolan. Like, if Tim Burton, Christopher Nolan's Batman had a child, it would be Robert Pattinson's Batman. I really do believe that that world that he's living in and the character that he's portraying is the love child of Christopher Nolan and Tim Burton. So yeah, Clayface is definitely high up there. It's definitely a character I would love to see. It's a story that we just haven't seen before, and I would love to see it. That being said, moving on to the next character that I just think kind of is a no-brainer. I know there's, depending on the timeline of the second movie and how far off it takes from the first movie, and if Gotham is still flooded, this character may or may not have a interesting backstory. And based on me talking about the Gotham being flooded, I'm sure you can imagine which character I'm talking about. I'm talking about Killer Croc. Now, obviously, I do know that Killer Croc did appear in the Suicide Squad by David Ayer. He made an appearance there, and I don't quite remember the full gist of it, but he was there, albeit not too memorable. I do think having Killer Croc there in a Batman movie as a Batman villain would be interesting. We haven't really seen him go up against Batman, and I don't really count the Suicide Squad movie with David Ayer because he just didn't feel that integral to the movie in general. He was kind of just like a monster brooding that was there. I really want to see a Batman villain be against Batman. And I think the Killer Croc has a possible way to intergrave himself in the second movie with the events of the first movie, especially because Gotham being underwater and being flooded. And obviously, you know, as this, depending on how much work the city made, they clearly cleared that up because in the Penguin series, we don't see that Gotham is flooded, although Penguin series does have moments that take place prior to the Batman as flashbacks for the Penguin. So keep that in mind. But depending on what Matt Reeves wants to do with the second movie, he could sort of have flashbacks of Killer Croc emerging post the Batman #1 and being like a character that got inundated with the flood, got lost in the sewages, and got completely disfigured to look like a complete monster. And just would be interesting to see, considering that there would be a vendetta there clear as day for the Batman for not being able to protect Gotham. So you would have a clear as day reason for Killer Croc to be upset at the Batman, not just being a complete monster, but actually having a purpose and actually being able to drive the plot forward and be a good antagonist to the Batman. So that's my second pick is Killer Croc. I really just want to see him. I think Matt Reeves could do a really good job. Also, I feel like these two villains, Clayface and Killer Croc, are right up Matt Reeves' aisle, considering that he's off the heels before Batman from the Planet of the Apes movies and seeing what he could do with the CGI on that. I really, really just want to see what he could do with other CGI characters. Obviously, Killer Croc and Clayface could still have practical elements to them, but I really do think that Matt Reeves could elevate those practicalities into something much more fantasy with the CGI. And my third take is probably one that I don't probably think a lot of people are going to be considering. Obviously, I wanted to see the Court of Owls, but for the sequel of Batman, I don't think Court of Owls would work. I think they're more of like a trilogy, like final movie, end boss, albeit type of villains. But the one that I actually think would work, the one that I think would actually fit for Matt Reeves' world is Dr. Hugo Strange. Now, Dr. Hugo Strange doesn't pop out the paper when you consider Batman villain, but he has made appearances in, per se, Batman video games, and he was technically, I mean, if you want to consider it, he was technically the first Batman antagonist before the Joker. He made the appearance in the first Detective Comics comic book. If you don't believe me, look it up. But he's also an interesting Batman villain because he goes into the psyche of Batman. He's not just a bronze type of Batman villain like I said with the previous two. This is a Batman villain that requires the Batman to think outside of the box in order to defeat, because this is a Batman villain who uses all of his capabilities in order to leverage what he wants. And considering that Gotham was underwater after the Riddler attack, there is a possibility that there's people that just need psychiatric help, people that are going to be struggling with recovering from that, people, or just in general, people in Arkham who, I don't know, you could just start Dr. Hugo Strange as a normal psychiatrist in that sense, where he's helping the general people, and in doing that, he sort of implants a drug that makes them sort of eventually become his pawns, and has a bigger scheme to take down the Batman. There is possibilities there for Dr. Hugo Strange, whether it be that or whether it be something else that I completely haven't mentioned, like maybe taking over Arkham Asylum and turning that against the Batman. That would be interesting as well. I do think Dr. Hugo Strange would be a really cool Batman villain, considering that he's not one we actually seen ever in live action. And he's one that I think would bring a lot more to the table, because if you're talking about already having a pre-established Joker in the first movie as a deleted scene, and even in the final moments of the first movie, spoilers, I'm sorry, but Dr. Hugo Strange is a funnel, is a good way for a second movie to bring in other villains in Arkham Asylum that maybe the Batman tangled with in his early years. Maybe the Batman had already put people away and they end up becoming like maybe the Mad Hatter, maybe the Riddler gets out, maybe the Riddler and the Joker get out, and that becomes the part of the movie, but also leading it into the third movie. There's a lot of, like I said, possibilities with Dr. Hugo Strange. He's actually much more of a leverageable character than you might ever think of. He's a character that actually brings a lot of scary elements into the Batman as well, because again, it's a psychological character, and so you could go from being a detective story with the first one to being a completely psychological horror thriller in the second movie. And I think it would be super dope. I think it would be super sick. And I don't know, maybe I'm the only one in the who in the Doctor Hugo Strange boat. But you guys let me know what you guys think. You guys let me know what Batman villain you want to see in the Batman #2. I think the next video I want to do, because I'm kind of in a Batman rave, is talking about who I think should play the next Robin and who should the next Robin should be in general. Obviously, it's going to be Dick Grayson. I don't know. We can have some speculation and fun there. So if you want to see that video, be sure to like and subscribe. And I will catch you guys in that video, whether that video be the next one or it not be the next one. Or maybe I don't do it at all. I don't know. That's why you got to, show your support and like and subscribe. I'm leaving now. Bye-bye.